When it comes to developing a meaningful or useful product, it's important to consider the way that users will interact with your product or system, and what's the most efficient way to deliver that user experience. It's not always a one or the other situation. However, there are times when product developers must evaluate the effectiveness of a mobile app or a web app for their product, or perhaps even the use of both. At a high level, mobile apps are applications that are downloaded and run on a system or device, whereas web apps are accessed through an internet browser. However, to the naked eye alone, the differences between web apps and mobile apps may not be too obvious. Some companies will design their web and mobile applications to look almost identical to one another, using the same fonts, color schemes, and layout on both applications. For example, take Twitter's mobile version when compared to its web version. They both appear the same, but are actually two different products underneath. Today, we will be walking through the key differences between web apps and mobile apps by looking at the back-end development and the functionality of each. Alex Dagana is a senior software engineer with over 10 years of experience in the field. Alex is joining us today to discuss web apps and mobile apps and their key differences as it relates to software development.
Hi guys, I'm Alexander Dagana. I'm a senior software engineer here at Precision Systems Incorporated, and today we're going to talk about web apps versus mobile apps and what makes them different. Sometimes people like to think that web apps and mobile apps are kind of the same thing. Common misconception, but it really couldn't be further from the truth. They differ in how people use them, and they also differ in how you build them. So if we start, what do we think of as a web app? Web applications are typically single page applications, so a lot of the data is loaded up front. You don't expect the pages to reload when you click every link. Data is usually loaded on the back end via JavaScript or an AJAX call. They're usually fluid layouts, so they look good across multiple devices. Whereas for a native mobile application, you're typically building for multiple platforms. So we're talking iOS or Android. You will have to, a lot of times, develop for each one, possibly from scratch, and it's just more time consuming. Web applications are typically accessed from the browser, and any modern device is going to have a web browser, whereas native mobile applications are only distributed via the application store. So there's a harder time getting your app up and running if you're running a mobile app. So let's talk about how they're built. Web applications are built with typical web tech like JavaScript, Python, HTML, CSS, whereas mobile applications are built with a specific language, Kotlin or Java for Android and Swift for iOS. So there's more technical knowledge typically involved in building a native application. As far as pros and cons, for native mobile applications, they typically run faster than a web application would. They have access to peripherals, things like GPS and a camera, or USB devices, things that you can connect to your camera that your typical web application just wouldn't have access to. But they are a little harder to distribute. They are typically pushed through the App Store, and there's a review process, and that can sometimes be a pain depending on what you're doing with your application. Web applications can be pushed to a server relatively quickly. There's no updates that the user has to download, and there's no approval process, so you can get up and running with a web application much quicker. And security is also a concern with the native applications. Because they go through the App Store, there is a little more security because there's a review process on the binary on Android or iOS. With a web application, you have generally full control of the server and the environment, so you control those updates and the user doesn't have to really worry about it. There's also kind of a middle ground called a progressive web application. It's relatively new, supported in modern browsers relatively recently, and it gives you kind of, I wouldn't say the best of both worlds, but a little bit closer of a native feel on a web application. It allows users to download the application, give them a shortcut on their desktop or in their taskbar. It allows you to work offline with certain features or default settings if you don't have connectivity. And it gives you more of a native feel and a little more customization than your typical web application would provide. So it really is up to you when developing a product to figure out your needs to know if you need a web application or a mobile app. Some of the reasons you may prefer a mobile application over a web app could be for performance, more of a native feel, or extended capabilities. If you need access to GPS, for instance, or if you have any devices, peripherals that need to be attached, a native application may be more suitable. If you need to get to market quickly, provide frequent updates, or have more control over the environment, then perhaps a web application would be a better suit. That's pretty much it.
We hope that you find this information useful as you evaluate your system needs. If you're looking for an experienced team to help develop your mobile app or web app, PSI is here to help. To get started today, you can email us at info@psi-software.com or visit our website at www.psi-software.com.
If you found this video to be helpful and would like to learn more, or if you'd like to learn about another specific software development related topic, let us know in the comments below or send us a message at info@psi-software.com.